I don't think that people realize how much power we have in our energy to be able to resonate with and attract and manifest what we want in our life. And I don't think people understand that, like, it's not about doing more like our old perfectionist wants us to do. It's about being an energetic match for what your soul desires.
Hey, I'm Brooke Jean, therapist, recovering perfectionist, and struggling working mom on a mission to normalize normal. If you're an overwhelmed, high achieving, and secretly anxious mama, struggling to balance it all and on the brink of burnout, you are in the right place. Here is where we talk about hard things like balancing work and family life, mental health, and how to navigate life altering transitions. Nothing is too taboo here. In my conversations, I'll teach you how to let go of who you think you're supposed to be in order to create the life you've always wanted. Get ready to embrace your messy, shed the shoulds, and find freedom through a life unperfected. This is the Unperfected Pod.
Hey, Mama, it's me. I'm so glad you're here. Before we get into today's episode, I wanted to be the one to tell you about my signature offer that is open for enrollment right now, and it is Unperfected, the mastermind for Mama, where we spend 6 intimate months together helping you unmask, unburden, to unlock your fullest and most authentic expression and potential. This program is for you, high achieving, high performing, often anxious, busy working mama who is on the brink of burnout, just trying to keep up with all the things. And you know deep down there's a better way, and you want more. You want more joy, more play, more ease, more abundance, more wealth, but you need to do it in a way that invites more ease. This is the program for you if you just know your perfectionism at this point is holding you back from stepping into that next expression of who you are. In this 6-month container, you are going to get weekly live coaching calls with me and industry experts that I invite into our group. Well, we will talk about having a frequency first way of being to create the life of your dreams. I'm going to teach you everything I know and that has helped me feel my best and be my best, and invite in the success that I have through energy and frequency. We are definitely going to do some subconscious reprogramming. We're going to look at your core beliefs, and we are going to uproot and upgrade them to be supportive into this being that you're stepping into. We are going to learn about perfectionism and what are the roots of your perfectionism, because really it's rooted in fear and not enoughness. And you're going to learn all about your parts, your inner child. You're going to learn about your protective parts, which are often the perfectionism, and how do you heal those parts and integrate those parts into the fullest expression of who you are. You are going to get over 100 cutting edge, neuroscience backed, psychological and energetic tools that help you be your best, feel your best, do all the things that you want to do. You're going to learn about wealth consciousness. You're going to learn how to set boundaries. And most importantly, you're going to be in a container with other like-minded women who are saying yes to the opportunity to let go of who they thought they were supposed to be to create a life they actually love. And just when you thought it couldn't get better, we're going to end the 6 months with an in-person retreat that is just going to enhance and integrate all the juice that you just experienced in our time together. And so if you are a mama who is ready to level up in life, leadership, and business, but you want to do so in a way that invites more confidence, joy, and ease, then make sure you get on my calendar for that discovery call, because we're going to be kicking off March 5th. Doors will be closing, and I cannot wait to see you inside. And for today's episode, y'all, this one is so good. Okay. This conversation was with my friend, Dawn Maynor. She's a manifestation coach. She guides people on dream board workshops. She's a yoga teacher. She's a Reiki master. She's a mother. She is doing the damn thing. And she went from that corporate grind into the world of entrepreneurship. And she is now living and embodying what's on the other side of perfectionism. She shares how yoga saved her life after having a stillborn. She shares how listening to her anxiety as a guide to let go of things and people and places and jobs that were no longer in alignment. We talk about how to manifest more. What are some of the techniques that she teaches how to manifest, and the power of kind of letting go of the old to make room for the new. We talked about how to listen to your body, and how as women we've become so disconnected from the wisdom and the guidance that is there. And listen, you are just going to love Dawn because her light just beams. And you can tell that all of these things that she's been through in her life were to help her get onto this path that she's on, and that she's living in alignment with her soul's purpose, and that she's in the energetic frequency of freedom, which is her word of the year. And so what she says is, on the other side of perfectionism is freedom. So I cannot wait for you to hear her story and to learn some things from her path. Welcome back to the Unperfected Pod, where we normalize normal and find freedom through a life unperfected. My friends, I am so excited to introduce you to my guest today, the one, the only, Dawn Maynor. What is up? Thank you so much for being here, my love.
Yay, thank you. I'm so excited. Your little intro. So the word stood out to me in that is freedom, because I pick a word every year, and that is my word this year, is like getting that feeling of freedom in all ways of life.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Dawn, because I share that my word of the year is alive, and what it means to feel fully alive and present and turned on and turned up, and like just like I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And I feel like freedom dances beautifully with alive, right? What does freedom mean to you? And what are some of the actions you take every day to embody that word that you're calling in for yourself?
Yeah, I'm calling it in for help with mind chatter. So freedom of the mind, keeping that internal peace with my meditation techniques and my practices that I do, um, creating more ways to bring in income. So that financial freedom piece that will allow me more time with my family. Um, that's probably the biggest one, because I'm in this like place of growth this year where all the things I've done the past 13 years has been more so like for fun and as a hobby. And my children are older. And so I'm ready to, like, everything I have right now, I know I manifested to where I am at because I've been practicing it, and I'm here. And now I'm in this like next launch phase of life of creating more, and just, I was like, trying to figure out how to keep things as they are in some ways, but it's always changing around you. And so how to start to create this change for myself, but keep like the joy and the peace and the happiness in my life that I do have, my relationship with my husband and my children. And so it's changing in a way that I have space and time to do that, because my kids are gotten older.
I love that. And one of the things that I actually really cherish about you is that like energy that you were just talking about, where you are really grounded and rooted and joyful, and you have this really beautiful whiteness to your energy. And so, how the hell did you get here? Let's talk about that. Like, you've already mentioned manifesting tips, and you're a meditation queen, and you're a yoga queen, and you're a mommy, and you're all the things. So, let's dive into that. Like, who are you? What do you do? And how did we get here?
Oh, I'll tell you, I was a hot mess
Yeah.
for
Well, we all start as a hot mess express, which always catapults us into the big midlife awakening, right?
yeah. I've actually received the biggest compliment the other day from my daughter, who's 10. She was like, Mom, this new friend that she was making, she was like, my mom doesn't like, we don't have friends over a lot because she's always stressed out. And she's like, Mom, I just thought she
Mm.
needs you. I melted. I was like, what?
Yeah,
She
you're like, who am I? Who the hell am I?
She's like, you need to do some Reiki on her mom. And it's
Oh,
like, yeah.
yes. Yes,
So
we're sending that mama so much love because we've all been her and we've been there. So why don't you start with like what was the Hot Mess Express path you were on and what's happened to get you to this place of more peace and even inviting in more freedom this year?
well, one of the things you and I have in common that we've talked about is we both went from that corporate world to where we are now, and yeah, I was 10 years um, into corporate, and was in a place that I felt stuck because in order to get promoted, I would have to move. That wasn't happening because my husband was so rooted in his career and he made a lot more money than I did too. So financially, it just never made sense. But anytime I thought about doing anything else, I felt like I was cheating on my people that I worked for and with.
At your
Um,
company, because you were in
yeah,
retail management as well, weren't you?
yes. And so I wouldn't even like that thought would come in and I would redirect it. Like I wouldn't even allow it there because there would be guilt with it. And so I wouldn't even like try to explore other ideas. But there was this just inner knowing that was starting to force inside of me, like, I'm not supposed to do this anymore. And I don't know what to do. I mean, I can visualize the spot we were when I said to my husband, I was like, I'm not supposed to just work at Abercrombie. Like, I'm supposed to be doing something bigger and more. And like, I don't know what that is right now. I
And
got,
at the
I can't,
time, you were a district manager, right? You were a
uh,
district manager at Abercrombie. Okay. And you would have the thought you wanted more, but your good girl conditioning told you, I can't leave my people. I can't cheat on my people. I can't abandon my people. So you would literally shove that intuition and desire and thought away. Okay. Bring us back to your vision.
I
Sorry.
pride in that though, because my dad was a UPS driver for 33 years. And there was like a lot of pride in staying with something and staying committed, right?
Yeah.
So, um, yeah,
So
I
you're having a
was,
conversation with your husband.
yeah. And I had my son, and I was like the first person pregnant in that company. So there was like, that was a whole weird thing. And then, um, it was during after him that I was starting to have these self-talks, things were happening, right? And I was on a staycation one day at home and turned on the TV. Oprah was on, and it was this woman standing up talking about the book The Awakening by Eckhart Tolle. And she said, this book changed my husband's life. And
Mm.
he's sitting there and he stands up and shares like how much he transformed from reading this book and how miserable he was before. And so I got really curious. And the only other book I'd read like that before was Think and Grow Rich. And it's like I'd always wanted a clothing boutique. So that was kind of like, maybe one day that's what I'll do is have this boutique. And I was reading that book and trying to figure out like a business plan for all that. Um, and so I get that book, and was like a shift just started happening that was huge. I was standing at St. Patrick's Day parade in Dallas with some friends. Two of us had to go to the bathroom. We run into a Chipotle, standing there in line. It's like 20 people. Our crew of everyone else leaves. And normally I would have went in panic and been like, oh my God, we're getting left. And then we got to go to the bathroom. I was so calm and like did not care. I looked at my girlfriend and I said, you're going to think this is really weird, but I have to share this with you. I
Mm.
just had my first awakening. And Eckhart Tolle was like, you're going to know when you have your first awakening. And I was like, I'm having that right now. And it feels freedom. It feels amazing. Right. And so that was kind of
Okay,
the
so in
first
that very moment, or was it like that time period? Was it that moment or the time period you were having your awakening?
it was that moment. It
Holy
was
shit.
like,
Okay, we have to pause there. I have to double click on that. You knew in that moment at a St. Patty's Day parade, in that kind of chaos, having to pee in Chipotle line, you knew you were awakening in that moment. Can you describe what that felt like, what that was like?
it felt like this girl that used to feel like she had a control and be like, um, I don't know, controlling is the right word, but not, I mean, it is, but I don't know really how to describe that. But it went from not caring to keep up with the group and this trust of like, I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Mhm.
And it was just an overall, like, I don't care and I'm okay. I don't need to go
I'm
run to the
okay.
cab with everyone else. Like, I'm fine right here.
It's almost like it was like a feeling of comfort, like a knowing of I'm okay. Like a I don't even yeah, how does one describe this, right? But yet I can feel it from you when you're saying I can feel what that felt like for you. It's just like this ease of like it's
Yeah,
okay. I'm
yeah,
okay. Holy shit, I'm okay.
yeah, yeah.
Had you been a fairly anxious person or someone who really was like, I want to control things or I need like a planner and a go getter and let's be honest, perfectionist? Were you in that energy prior to this moment?
Yeah. Oldest of five kids,
Oh,
always the boss, always in charge.
yep.
Um, Definitely a huge planner, very organized, overthinker. Yeah, everything had to be perfect because, I mean, you being in retail, like our job was to walk through and make sure everything was perfect. Like I ran the New York City store where the president of the company came every single floor set. I had to walk him through and it had
Oh,
to be perfect. Like, I
oh,
mean, from I still can't walk into a room without looking up at vents and seeing if there's dust or not on the
oh
ceiling
my
vents
God.
or in corners of a freaking room.
We still have like PTSD of like everything needs to look perfect, right? Oh wait, so your store oh my gosh. Okay, we could literally go on a tangent about those we used to call them at Target visits, retail visits where somebody your boss
Store visits,
comes in and yeah, what did you guys
yeah,
call them at Abercrombie?
store visits,
Store visits. Yeah. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. We could talk about unpacking the anxiety and straight up PTSD from those forever. Okay. So to go from that energy of like perfecting and planning and things always looking so
Nonstop.
amazing. Yeah. Nonstop. The
And I was
oldest of
sleeping
five.
for hours. Like there was times where I didn't sleep for 2 or 3 days. I lived in stores
Oh
to
my
make sure
gosh.
perfect, perfect, perfect. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're in Chipotle and everything loosens.
Yeah. And I was with all the district managers in our area
Oh my God. You were
for
with work people?
we were all together for this parade, and it was me and one left behind at the bathroom.
And you decide to bravely just bust out. This is weird, but I'm awakening right now. You had the courage to actually voice that shit?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened next? This is so good.
All right. So I was like first like step into it, right? Well, then we were some girlfriends and I had started going to hip hop dance classes on Thursday nights for like girls' night out.
Hell
And
yeah. Hell yeah.
one of them suggested, they were like, there's this like belly dancing one. We should go try it. And I was kind of like, I don't really like, I don't feel that. Well, everyone wanted to do it. So I was like, all right, we'll go. And the next week we go, and it was inside of a yoga studio. And we're there, and I'm looking up on the wall at the stuff. And I mean, never been to a yoga class. It was pretty intimidating to me. I felt really uncomfortable even being in the studio. I was like it's unknown. And so I can relate to people when they feel that way. I do a lot of yoga classes at my house, and people say, I'll come to your house because I feel more comfortable. I'm not comfortable to go into the studio.
Oh
And I'm like, I
wow.
get it.
Okay. Mhm.
So on the wall, there was a sign that said 10 days of yoga for $10. And I was like, I'm off next week and I'm just going to come try $10. Like, I'll come try. I went to 3 classes in one day, became obsessed.
I think we can all relate. Like when you get that first yoga buzz, you're like, yo, this and belly dancing, like where have I been my whole life? This is the move.
Right?
That
Exactly.
alone is so healing, isn't it? Like, okay, so you fell in love. You immediately fell in love. Your soul knew it was home in some ways on that yoga
Yeah.
mat.
Yeah. Never felt comfortable. And any workout classes, your brain's like, everyone's judging if I'm doing this right. And like those dance classes, those kickboxing, I always felt so, but it was this place where like everybody had their eyes closed, and it forced you to like deal with your crap that was coming up, and then you deal with it because you're with your eyes closed. And so you leave feeling so much better. And because I wasn't growing in my career anymore, expanding there, this was a place of expansion that was happening for me. And so I went up to one of the teachers one day after class, and I was like, "So, how do you learn more about this?" Like, and she was like, "Well, we have a yoga teacher training program, but you have to have a very supportive husband." And I was like, "What kind of answer is that?"
Oh, no, she didn't. No, she did not. No, she did
And
not.
so I decide to do it, and I go home and tell my husband, and at the time we do allowance. He was like, "Well, that's going to come out of your allowance." And I'm like, "Are you serious right now? I don't care
Mm.
what it comes out of, but like if you wanted to go and like make yourself better, but like take someone, like I had got you 100%." He's like, "Oh yeah, true."
Mhm.
So thankfully, like, that was another moment of like courage, me standing up, going, "No, I'm doing this because it is what ended up saving my life." It got me, gosh, that's a whole other thing. But so I started the program, and got pregnant with my second child. And while I was in yoga teacher training, 200 hour, she became stillborn at 36 weeks.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I
Oh my
went
gosh.
to the doctor on Wednesday, heard her heartbeat, and I was supposed to have her the next week. So we were gonna have her at 37 weeks because my son was in emergency labor, shoulder dystocia, ICU for like 3 days. So they were like, we just want to be safe with this one, and scheduled C-section. And so that Wednesday, heard the heartbeat. Sunday, I started feeling really bad, and I was like, "What is going on?" And I had started having Braxton Hicks, which was weird because I didn't have those with Kenan, but I knew I was Googling everything, right?
Mm.
Um, and then I called the doctor, and they're like, "You need to go, and it sounds like you're in labor." So I'm thinking I'm in labor, but I'm in panic mode because I was scared to death of a C-section. It just sounded so like crazy to go cut your stomach open versus like come out the natural hole. And so,
Versus pushing the freaking football out of your vagine, like, that's
yeah,
not like listen, they're both scary to me.
because
Okay,
although it was
okay.
traumatic as well, so maybe there was like some trauma from even just the whole thing, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, we're on our way, and there's like excitement. Even Kennan's 4 at the time. He's in the car. We get in there, and he's running around the room. Bunch of doctors kept coming in and out, and like checking. And by the
Mm.
third one, I thought they need to get somebody in here that knows what they're doing. Like,
Mm.
and so finally, the doctor on call comes in because mine was out of the country, and she looks like sad, and Brian's like shaking his head. And then she comes over to our side of the bed with Brian and I together, and she's crying, and she says, "You have a stillborn in there." I didn't know that word. I didn't know what that meant. Never had anything like this happen in our family.
Oh,
And I was like,
mama.
I just knew the way she was being. And I just said, "Is that mean she's dead?" And she
Oh
started crying
my
harder, and I was,
God.
yes. Yeah.
Oh my God,
So
mama. I'm so
that was
sorry.
the journey, how it began there.
Whoa.
Um,
Whoa. Whoa, whoa,
I've
whoa.
shared with you before, like my whole pregnancy with her was spiritual. Um, that is why, for sure, she came into our world as family friends and became the spiritual teacher for everyone with us. And it's
Mm.
put me on this path that I would have never even explored, imagined without her. That is her gift to us. And she's with us in a different way, in that spiritual way instead of physically. And that was
Yeah.
a place where my mind and body had to catch up with that. It started at her funeral when the priest said, some children come to us as a gift that we get to raise until they go to college and get married. We get to do that type of life with them. And then some come to us in the form of an angel. And that is what this is. And there was like, when he said it, and over,
Oh, I feel, oh
like,
yeah. my God, I just got goosebumps. I feel like every time we talk about her, I get goosebumps, like she's with us.
Mm,
I have
yeah,
goosebumps right now, baby girl. Angel. She's an
yeah,
angel.
mhm,
Brooklyn, right?
yeah, yeah. And her
Baby
name was
Brooklyn.
chosen 7 years before she was even conceived from our time we lived in New York City.
Yeah.
Um, it was like that was one of my dreams. My whole life was to move there, live there. So did that, and that was going to be our reminder when we had a little girl. Um, so that I mean, I think it was my husband's mom that said, what's crazy is like she's been with us even 7 years before she physically came. I
Wow.
was like, yeah.
Okay,
Um,
but like let's not gloss over how heavy, how hard the grief, right? The grief. And so are you in your yoga teacher training in the midst of all of this, or was this before?
no, in the mist. Yeah,
Whoa. So like, wow. Okay, I didn't
still working,
realize that. Wow.
still working.
Still working.
Yeah, and so like the week before it happened, I had the entire home office come and tour all 11 of my stores. And
Hmm.
so there was like a big, like, oh my God, how could you guys do that to her? There was like a lot of blame being put on the stress and of all that. And that was something else I had to work through too. Of like, I mean, I remember being on the phone with my dad one day and he was like, Dawn, you got to quit working so much and like give yourself a break, go home. And I mean, looking back, there was a lot of times it was just like, I needed way more rest than I was allowing because work was so strict. I don't know,
Demanding.
demanding. Yeah.
Demanding.
Yeah.
So you said that yoga saved your life, and now that we're hearing this part of your story, this big part of your story, say more about what that means to you, or what that looked like for you in your moments of mourning and moving
hmm
through
Yeah.
what sounds
So
like a really hard
yoga
period.
taught me how to process, feel. I was raised hardcore Catholic, but I felt closer to God laying on the mat in Savasana and having that first experience of like, wow, I feel a closer connection to God right now and this laying here on the mat by myself than I ever have my whole life. Um, so that was the gift through that. And it, whenever I went back to the doctor, I had a panic attack on the drive to work. I tried, it was like, I got the 8 weeks off and then at week 9, I tried to go back. Um, and then 2 weeks of trying, it just got to the point I'm like, I can't anymore. I drove to work one day and had to pull over on the side of the road off 121 highway going to Stoneboro Mall in Frisco. And I called my husband. I was like, come get me. I can't function. I can't drive. Take me to a doctor that's going to make me better. I don't know who, where, what. And the only person I knew to go to was my gynecologist, right? And she was the doctor that did not do the delivery, but had done, everything else. And so when I went in with her, I was explaining everything that was going on, nightmares, can't sleep, panic, anxiety, all the things. And she said, well, we need to prescribe you medicine because I needed her to give a note to my work to get more time off, right? And she's like, the only
Yeah.
reason I can do that is like, you're going to have to get on medicine. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm not doing that. And she was like, well, don't you think like what's happening right now is not normal and that this will help? I was like, my mouth fell to the floor when she said this is not normal. Because I was
You're
like,
like,
no,
I'm fucking grieving, dude. This is all the wide range of normal. I am PTSD. I am panicking. Like, what do you mean it's not normal? This is a normal response for this trauma that I'm
mhm.
living in right now.
And I was so aware from my yoga teacher training that we have to feel this stuff and
You
process
have
it
to
and go
feel it
through.
to go through
And so,
it. Yeah.
yeah, it's freaking normal. I was so mad. I got the prescription from her, and I left there. And my mom was like, "Dawn, why don't you just try? And like, if you don't like it, you don't have to do it, but like, give it a try." And I still resisted for a while, but I finally got to the place because other part of leaving was we were on my insurance. We had amazing insurance. I had a company car, company gas card anywhere we went. Gas, my salary. We built our lifestyle amongst, the two salaries.
That's
And
called the golden handcuffs, right? That's the golden handcuffs right there. Yep.
my husband was like, not, he was like, well, you can't, like, how are we going to do this? And I'm looking around at other people doing it. And so I'm like, we can. And it's to the point where I will go sleep on the front porch of my parents' house. Like, I don't want this company phone. I don't want this car. Like, I need to shed all these things to feel better. And
Yes.
for whatever reason, here was another part that was happening in my conscious, like driving around in the company car and not working. I was carrying guilt.
Mm. So it's like
And
you're
so,
always working 24/7 because if you're not physically working, you're working mentally and emotionally with the guilt.
yeah.
No
So
break
that
for you.
turning in my keys, turning in my car, there was an amount of that. It was a
Freedom.
step towards freedom, towards healing. Um, that I mean, I'll like cry to my husband sometimes for his acceptance of allowing me to finally like do this and be there. I was like, I mean, I'd leave a yoga class, like, I just want to tell you so thankful for you allowing me the space to heal because I mean, I was suicidal. Like I was in a bad, bad thinking place, you know?
Yeah,
And so
understandably, understandably.
yeah.
Do you think that yoga is what allowed you to hear the truth bubble up inside that it was time for you to leave the corporate thing and heal? And because the busyness and the noise of that level of responsibility, a lot of times we don't hear the calls are happening, but because of the
Yeah.
golden handcuffs, because of the loyalty to our work and our people, we just ignore the calls until they get louder and louder, and then they just kick us square in the tits like they did to me. But it's
Yeah.
like I'm almost feeling like you and that connection to God and that connection to your intuition on your mat in Savasana is like where that truth bubbled up and you knew that it was yours and you knew to bravely follow it. But if you
Mhm.
had not had your yoga practice, would you have heard that call or honored it? I'm wondering.
Yeah. Probably not. I mean, it could have been a whole nother direction in life, you know.
A scary one, maybe,
Other thing
honestly,
that
with where
people
you were
said
at.
was, they were like, everyone that goes through this gets a divorce. That was another fear I had. And so I'm like, oh my God, I'll do everything in my mind to like make sure that doesn't happen too. Um, and then, so yeah, so I finally leave and I end up in the yoga teacher training. I was still showing up for that. And they're like, how are you here? How are you showing up for this? Like, this is the only thing that's helping me right now. Like, when I come here, I feel better, you know?
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
yeah. And so I finished, but during that time period, one of the stipulations was that you had to do a 40-day meditation and like log it. We had to go get it signed off on. Um, and that was the part that I couldn't do. I was like, this is torture. Every time I close my eyes, so much stuff comes up and like it's hard to keep my eyes closed for that long. And um it was like a lot of fear and scariness. And then one day I closed my eyes and I said, what if I look through this darkness? What is there? What would come up? And it was so much expansion that happened that I went digging for more. I'm like, now I'm loving this. Now this is freaking cool. um Saw my third eye for the first time. Actually, I was pregnant with Brooklyn when I saw my third eye. I went up to my Kundalini yoga teacher and I was like, so during that meditation after Kundalini, I saw this big purple eyeball right here. And she was like, her mouth dropped, like, do you not know what that means? And I was like, no, what is that? And she's like, that means your intuition is wide open. And I was like, what?
Wait,
Which makes
so
a lot of
see, when you
sense.
actually imagine your third eye, the eyeball that sits like right between your eyes, right? Or does it matter where you see it? This is new to me.
So when you close your eyes, you're supposed to roll your eyes up, and the wires behind your eyeballs are crossing. And so
Okay.
those two nerves are being activated to activate your pituitary gland, which that pituitary gland increases hormones, but also helps you tap into your inner guidance system, your third eye, your intuition, your sixth chakra, your anja. There's many, many names for it. Purple eye, because it's purple. The color is purple. Yeah. I mean, so I saw a freaking purple eyeball that was beautiful, long eyelashes. So then after that, I am like trying to see it all the time.
Yeah.
And I can't
I
ever
was like, can I
get
wait? So cross-eyed? I'm about ready to try this shit right now.
it.
Cross-eyed, like
You
with
close
eyes closed.
your eyes, close, roll your eyes up and then into the focus between the eyebrows. But here's the deal, what I
Oh, I'm gonna
learned
play with that. Hmm.
trying and practicing is it goes back to manifesting. The harder you try, you're not going to get there. So it's
Oh.
more about like the awareness. So your eyes are closed, you get your awareness there, and then you've got to it does not happen until you get your face, your tongue, your jaw, everything soft. Everything has to be in non-resistant mode to get there. And so a lot of times that's why you get there after a yoga practice, because the yoga is moving the body, getting all the energy open and moved and moving around and getting into this clear channel. And then you're getting your consciousness connected with your body, your breath connected with your body. And so then at the end, you have this space that you can settle into. And it when you start practicing, you can drop in quickly. But if you're not in a practice mode, it's going to take about 15 minutes to get there.
Hmm. So how did you go from, because I feel like so many moms are going to resonate with you at the beginning of your meditation journey when you were like, I can't, too much comes up. I can't sit still, the emotions. How did you, and that's resistance, right? Resistance to the pain inside. How did you move through? How did you go from that place where I can't sit in meditation to seeing your damn purple eye? What was that process and journey?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, right? Like there's so many mamas that are like, "Yes, why is it so hard for me to meditate? And how do I and I always teach them it's like building a muscle, my loves. Like it's uncomfortable for all of us when we start. Well, especially us like type A perfectionists
Yeah.
sitting in our bodies with our feelings. Ew.
Ew.
How did you do it, my love? How did you do it?
Yeah. Okay. So I was in another yoga class and I wasn't like vibing, really connecting with the teacher. And so it was like making my anxiety worse. And I was having a lot of anxiety in the class. So I went up to her afterwards and I was like, hey, just so you know, like I was just having a lot of anxiety today and, in the class. And that's why I was like having a hard time getting settled and centered and all that. She's, yeah, I noticed. And we start talking. I tell her about Brooklyn, and she goes, have you ever heard of a dream board? And I was like, no, what is that? And she explains to me what it was. I ran home and got magazines, scissors, glue, and construction paper. I had one piece of construction paper, and I just started cutting, pasting, putting things on the construction paper, not really even knowing what I was doing, but there was a calling for me to do it. And I knew it was like, I love being crafty. So this sounded fun to me, right? And
Mhm.
so um, as I started doing it a little more, I learned that it was a form of meditation. I was like, oh, I can make this my 40-day meditation. So I had an empty closet in the room of my house, and because it was one piece of construction paper, it turned into four pieces of construction paper. So
Mhm.
I glued it, pinned it on an empty wall in my closet in my house, and I would go sit in that closet and cut, paste, and it was like all these things that were just quotes and things that were making me just feel better. And I was journaling, and then reading a lot of self-help books. I had my yoga stuff going on, and I came across a book called The Passion Test. I followed everything in there. Um, I literally lived in this closet any moment I could get. And the crazy part about that was I had never liked being alone before. I had never had the experience of being alone before. Being the oldest of five kids in a Catholic family that we took in everybody all the time. It was never shared a room. Like I never had my own space. And so I was so used to that. And then I'm learning like I actually like being alone and like figuring me out and finding who, this whole restarting of things. And so it got to where I had all these techniques that helped me figure some things out. And the first thing it helped me with was, what am I going to do with my life now that I don't work at Abercrombie anymore? And I started an online clothing boutique. It had the whole Instagram thing, it had a website, did trunk shows, and I thought I had finally accomplished one of my dreams. Well, then let's see. And so then I was like, all right, I've got to put this into workshops because it is something that helped me so much. Um,
Mhm.
and I started the whole dream board workshop system. And it's the 5 steps to help you find your purpose, live in your passions, and have internal peace. Is the whole
Wait, so you
point of
actually have a damn you've turned this into a actual process and an offer, your
that.
vision board, your dream board process.
Mhm. Yeah, I've been
Oh,
doing that for
I
13.
love this. I love this. And now now you bring women together to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And then it
so
went
fun.
from, so I was doing Stella and Dot jewelry with my clothing boutique. That was the jewelry
Okay.
part. And I
Mhm.
had the dream board workshops going, teaching yoga. So I was
Teaching yoga.
still
Okay.
doing a lot of things,
Mhm.
and still working on the depression, the anxiety. It was not as extreme. I had moments of joy, moments of peace, but there was still things that would get triggered. It was a lot of times of like getting triggered and then pulling, going back and down in this hole.
Yeah.
Uh, and so then um, we were trying to get pregnant also. So after Brooklyn, had, people asking me at the hospital, we were told to ask, would you want her room cleaned out? And I was like, oh my God, no, I'm just going to have a baby like that. Leave all that. And
Mhm.
so with Kenan, we got it pregnant on our anniversary. Like, let's get pregnant on our anniversary. Got pregnant with Brooklyn. Let's get pregnant. Got pregnant instantly, both of them. And so I thought, we're
Wow.
just going to get pregnant again.
Yeah.
And so time was going by, nothing was happening with that. 2 years went by, and without having this conversation, so we talked about it later. My husband and I both had these thoughts of, I guess it's just going to be us three, Kenan, and I, and that's fine. And so we were in that space of this acceptance there. And then we went on a vacation in Mexico, and I'm reading the book Tribes by Seth Godin. And there's the quote in there that said, you've got to let go of the old to let in the new. I put the book down. I look over at my husband. We're sitting on the beach, and I go, I know what I have to do. I
Mhm.
have to go home, clean out Brooklyn's room. That's her stuff. That's her energy, all the clothes, all the things, and donate it. So we got home. I went to the women's shelter, cleaned everything out, drove to the Dallas Women's Shelter, and donated it. About 2 weeks later, I was pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah. And what's
Wow.
even crazier with that is that, you know, I was like, I'm not going to live that life of like trying so hard to get pregnant. If we get pregnant, we get pregnant. I didn't want to create that energy because had become aware of energy.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't even, but I think there was this energetic, emotional release that had to happen to allow it. It's like let out this old stuff, even though it's materialistic, but I mean, it's like when we go clean out your garage, there's
It
something that happens.
represents.
It allows more space in. There's these, you have to make clearing to let things in constantly. You should be doing it and doing that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think you have to do it at your own pace as well. With something like this,
Yeah.
it took you 2 years. That's okay. But talk about the synchronicities, right? You're zenned out on the beach, your nervous system is regulated, you're with your partner, you come across this quote, the quote lands. You could have read that quote 6 weeks earlier and maybe that quote didn't even stick. It lands, you take inspired action. You're finally ready to at your pace and wherever you're at in your healing. And then here comes the baby.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's how it works, right?
Right.
It's like you had the intention, you took the action, but you also detached
Hmm.
and you made the space.
Yeah.
Not saying it's that easy for everyone to get pregnant because I understand, but
Yeah, no,
right
I
from
know.
like a manifestation standpoint, you set the
Yeah.
vision, you set the intention, you took the action, you detached emotionally. You were like, it's going to happen or it's not. And then you cleared the space for like, those are some of the steps probably that you teach people, I imagine.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And then the other thing that happened within that too is, I have people ask me all the time, well, how was it once you got pregnant with her? Were you worried and scared? And it's like, honestly, like the day I discovered it, I had the thought like, oh crap, a little worry popped in. And then I said to myself, no, I'm not giving this new baby that energy. Like, we're not doing that. I'm safe. We are good. This is a new baby. This is new. That was Brooklyn's energy, and this is different. And then that was it. I mean, I never worried, had another thought about that because I was also had learned about thoughts becoming things and law of attraction and the secret and all those techniques that I applied all that throughout, the pregnancy.
Yeah. And how was that pregnancy?
It was amazing, like the best one because I could sleep when I wanted to sleep and I could go to yoga when I wanted to
You
go to
weren't you
yoga.
weren't hustling. You weren't doing that corporate hustle. You were doing like yoga and dream boards and like doing I love that. So and this was the third baby, right? Third
Yeah,
baby? Mhm.
Kendall, yeah, she's in now. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
So,
my gosh. Go ahead.
and then when I was pregnant with her, though, the only medicine I was still on during that time was I would take Ativan on panic attacks that I would have, and then
Yeah.
Ambien because I learned that when I was getting sleep, I was having less anxiety and less panic.
Yeah.
So those were the only two things that I still was on. And then the day I got pregnant with her, I was like, I don't want to be taking this when I'm pregnant. It
Mhm.
was like when I think back about that and all the things I know now is when you make a decision, it's done. It's done. It's about making a decision. I made that decision not to take the medicine, and I didn't need it anymore. I didn't need the sleeping medicine. Um, I did other things to get sleep. I learned how to retrain my brain, retrain my body. I like live on lavender spray
I was going to
and
say what were some of
lavender
the things that helped you get sleep? Lavender spray, what else?
spray. I had my meditations that I do and journaling. Um, breathing techniques, certain breathing
Breathing,
techniques for
breath work,
sleep, any type of breath work, the whole body scan to go to sleep. So many I mean, that's a whole other thing.
other
Like,
podcast, yeah.
yeah, lots of different. Actually, the last girl I worked with, that was my favorite feedback from her. She said, "I'm not on sleeping medicine anymore because I've been applying your technique."
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
and so, yeah, so did that. And then what I was so in tuned with was all of that going on. Like I would sit down to work on my clothing boutique and I would get so much anxiety that I was like, something's off here. Like
Mhm.
I had four companies pretty much going, right?
Mhm.
When I sat down to go teach a yoga class, when I sat down to go do a dream board workshop, I didn't get anxiety from any of that. But when I sat down to do the boutique, I did. And that was a dream that I had as a little girl. So it was really hard. I said, I'm going to give it up and I'm just going to focus on this stuff that brings me joy. I mean,
Mm.
I built the website. I did everything. So to let that go was pretty hard, but I knew it wasn't serving me anymore. And because I look back sometimes, I'm like, man, I was in it before everybody else was on Instagram selling clothes and all that. I was one of the first. I could have and that's still, I love fashion. So I still get like, oh, sometimes I wish I was still doing that. But this
Yeah.
is more heartfelt serving, you know, things that I do now. It's just
Mhm.
brings me more joy. Um, and so, yeah, then I went on to end up becoming a Reiki master teacher, life coaching. I built an online 5-week course. So if you come to, usually like it's the people that either come out of my workshops and they want to manifest more, it's called Manifest More. Then I take you through the course online and I help you implement manifesting techniques each week, and it just helps you evolve with meditations, breath work, like all of the things. And then, so now I'm launching a 3 month, so that's only a 5 week course. Now I'm launching a 3 month one-to-one coaching program where you would get that course and you would get me like in your back pocket, and just more personalized time. So,
Mm. Oh, that's so good. So, what are some of the techniques? I mean, because I am a manifesting queen, honey. I just believe in this energy, like frequency first is what is totally transforming my life. I do want to really quick, though, before we move into more of the manifesting, I think it's amazing that you used your anxiety as a guide, because I tell people that a lot. Like, there's a lot of different things that create anxiety, but one of them is that something is off in your life and you're not listening. You're not living for you. You're not living in alignment with your soul's calling and purpose, with what you desire, with what lights you up. You're not in the right relationship. You're not on the right team. And like, don't ignore your body signals, because your body fucking knows.
yeah.
And so you, even when like on paper it made sense, right? It was like, I've dreamed of this forever. I actually do love fashion. I'm freaking good at it. Like, you still was like, but there's a sign here and I'm going to honor it. So I just feel like there's this theme of you continuing to come back to and honoring what your body is telling you and what spirit is telling you, whether that's your intuition or whatever and that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's what, as women, we have been programmed not to trust that, not to listen to our bodies. And when we
Mhm.
do, this is what's on the other side: alignment, purpose, like joy, ease, wealth, abundance, all the things. But
Yeah,
man, it's hard because
yeah.
we've been taught to do what's right. We've been taught to do what's responsible. We've been taught to do what's good, girl. And so going against that and actually listening to your body is like a bold act of radical self love and feminism. And so, yay to you, my love, for fucking doing that. And I know that this is going to inspire others. So now let's get into the manifesting. What are some things that you teach your clients to help them manifest more with Dawn?
Yes. Okay. So before I get into that, though, you touched on, I want to touch back on that anxiety thing because
Yeah.
that anxiety I knew was, I only knew that because of, I felt like it was going to put me back down that rabbit hole of panic attacks and where I had been and not honoring that anxiety. Then there's another type of anxiety that's, I was driving to teach one day and I was talking to one of my yoga teachers, and I said to her, whenever I go to teach this class, like I am having anxiety for teach I'm newly teaching. And she was like, well, maybe that's not what you're supposed to be doing, teaching. But I had an inner knowing, like, no, no, I know I'm supposed to be teaching. And now looking back on that time, because I've become such a confident teacher, it was doing something new, standing up there teaching when yoga was new to me. But here I am
Yeah.
teaching it. I mean, I had to use a notepad, follow notes, because I didn't have the names memorized. I didn't have the poses memorized. Like, I printed out pictures. Like, I would go and like my class would be a printout of the picture of the pose with the name of the pose, the meaning of the pose. And so that now I know, like, that was fear, anxiety of like doing something new. So I just wanted to explain that, like, pay attention to, there's good and bad anxiety, and like how sometimes you just want to walk through it, and sometimes it's no, this needs to be a change. Anxiety.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I feel like one of the distinctions there of like, is this fear anxiety or is this anxiety signifying I'm on the wrong path, is it moving you toward your bigger vision of what your soul desires? And
Yeah.
is there a twinge of excitement? Because excitement really kind of is close to anxiety. So there's the like paralyzing, and that's how you know. And then there's the like, yeah, I'm nervous about this, but there's a twinge of excitement, and it is moving me toward my bigger life vision of how I want to feel and who I want to be. Those are some differentiators, but it's pretty, it can be really muddy and mucky sometimes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So then, yeah, things that tools I use to help people manifest. I am a big believer, like I've been through the neuro language programming training. I'm a big believer in retraining your subconscious brain. And in yoga teacher training, we learn about, we call it samskara grooves, and repetitive patterns is creating new neurological patterns in
Pathways.
your brain, pathways in your brain. And so, how I like to help people with that is you create, I call it a purpose statement. You can call it a life statement, just some sort of like statement. And I help you write that out. And what I'll find, I, when I go back and read whoever wrote it, there could be every word wrong. There could be one word that's off. Like, for an example, you're not going to say, I want a loving, nurturing, supportive relationship with my husband, because you're always going to be wanting. You're going to state it, either you're going to say, I'm grateful that I am in this beautiful, loving, nurturing relationship with my husband. And you repeat it over and over until it becomes your reality, your vibration. Words are vibrations. So when you choose the words, they're so important. Like, I do not allow in my house my kids to use stupid, hate, any type of those words, even just those words, because their vibration. And even if I slip up and say something, they let me know, Mom, you just say what you don't allow us to say. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. And I want you to call me out on that. Even my husband, like, you're not like talking how you would want to be talking, Dawn. And I'm like, oh, thank you for making me aware. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it is an awareness in our house that I've created. Um, because I'm such a believer in it. It's something that helped me with anxiety and depression, and really focusing on teaching people tools and techniques on how to be present through visualizations, through breath work. And then the other part of writing that statement out to yourself. So our hearts are connected to our passions and our desires. And then the arms and hands are an extension of that. So when we write that out, it's coming from our heart. And so you're embodying it in your body, but then your brain seeing it, the subconscious doesn't know a difference from the reality. So as your brain is seeing this, it starts to buy into all this happening. And so the more and more you can put it there. And that's what I was doing every single day, writing what I wanted, writing what I wanted. And as things started coming in, I'd be like, oh crap, that's not what I meant. Like, one of them was all the time in the world with my family. Well, I got that. And then it was like, I don't know what that. I need to balance, like get some work in and get some personal stuff in. Because I went from like always working. So it became
Yeah.
my priority to be with my family all the time, right?
Oh yeah, but not all the time, girl. That all the time with my family is not on my vision board. I love these MFers, but not all the time,
So then you start to learn that's not what I meant. It helps.
honey. Yeah.
It helps so clear about what you really want, because you're going to learn that you start receiving it. Um, so yeah, that's one of my main things, is like teaching people how the subconscious brain works, and like tools to like bring that into the reality of the journaling process, the whole vision board process. So that's like the next level, is put a picture of it in front of you. The more and more you can like put it, it's there's that saying about people have a hard time believing what they can be without, like, someone they didn't have a dad in their life that was a father figure that they dreamed for, then it's hard for them to be that because they never had it. So that's just one of the examples. So that person needs to go and put themselves in front of that, whatever it is you want, putting yourself in front of that as much as you can, whether it is a TV show, it doesn't
Mm,
matter. As long as your
mm-hmm.
eyes is seeing it. I learned through my depression and stuff that I'm an empath, and I can't watch the news. I can't watch anything like what was the show that everyone was so into recently? It's like everyone was dressed up as this for Halloween. It's like a Western show in
Oh,
Wyoming or something.
Yellowstone.
Well,
Yellowstone.
my
Yeah,
husband's
I
like,
can't.
yeah,
My husband told me, my husband goes, Brooke, you can't handle that one. That's not for you, babe. So
same.
I didn't even try. I didn't even
Yeah,
try.
my husband told me the same thing. He's like, yeah, you
Did
can't
he?
watch it, Dawn. Yeah, because he knows, like, and oh, and then me learning this about myself. My daughter, like, she cannot watch a show without crying. We would go to the movie theaters, and so my kids are 7 years age gap.
Yeah.
It would drive my son nuts. She's so annoying. Why is she crying like this? Just a
Mm.
movie.
And you're like, because she feels it deeply, because she's an empath, she's sensitive, she's an energetic being who really feels. And that's actually a superpower. She just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah. So I've like been able to
Oh.
help her with a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
so beautiful. And I don't think that people realize how much power we have in our energy to be able to resonate with and attract and manifest what we want in our life. And I don't think people understand that, like, it's not about doing more like our old perfectionist wants us to do. It's about being an energetic match for what your soul desires. And so
Yeah.
that's the work, right? And I love everything you said around, like, that words are powerful and journaling it out and the heart coherence to that and the imagining it and the taking the action to put yourself in front of it and all of the things. And I just read, that's so interesting that you said don't use the word want, because I'm reading the book A Happy Pocket Full of Money, and they say the
Mm.
same thing. You do not, have you read that one? It's all
Oh,
about wealth consciousness. Girl, get it. It's so
yeah.
juicy. And in reading it, it forces you to reprogram your subconscious mind, because like every in between almost every paragraph is I am wealth, I'm abundance, I am joy. And by the end of the book, you've read that 150 times, and so it starts seeping into your subconscious.
I
But it's,
love that.
it's not I want $1 million, it's I am wealth. Like, it's already here. Or I want a partner. Like, love is here. It's like, it's the I am statements. It's acting as if it's here, and then it's feeling into that feeling as if you already have it, and then that's the frequency standard that you try to get yourself into every single day. And like, when people start to play with this and they see the magic that immediately starts happening. Oh, it's
And that's
so
the
fun.
other part. It's so fun. And if you just have fun with it instead
Just
of
have
being
fun
like
with
a
it.
non-believer, like it took I still don't have my husband all the way there. It's like when I first started all this, it's like, you just think you could put a picture on a dream board and it comes true. And I'm like, oh my God, that is not what this is.
Yeah. You're like, dude, it's actually way deeper than you're giving it credit for energetically and from a neuroscience. But okay, you can just see me continuing to like attract in new clients and more money and more retreat houses and more opportunities and vacations. And where do you think they're coming from, baby? Because you also see me working 20 to 25 hours a week.
Yes.
So
Yes.
they become believers, but I don't think it's ever going to be like totally safe for them to like fully, I don't know, like grasp and embody these things. But they're lucky because they get, by osmosis, they get all the juicy benefits of us manifesting and being in the frequency. So I always tell my husband, you're welcome, honey. You might not fully know or believe, but you're welcome, because
Yes.
you're getting to benefit from this queen vibrating high over here. Okay?
Yes. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I like to call have you ever heard the saying that the man should be the spiritual leader in the house? Have you ever heard that?
Yes, that's like a hardcore religious belief that I just cannot subscribe to.
Yeah, but like I've heard that saying, and I'm like, it doesn't matter who it is. Somebody needs to be that. Like I am that in our house. Like I am the spiritual teacher. Like I own that in my
Mm,
home. He's
that's
the worker.
beautiful.
He goes out and makes the financial, and but I try to create the good energy, the spiritual side of things, the whole manifesting, all the little things that go along with all that. So, and helping them see that too.
That's so beautiful. And it's such an important role that you have in your family system doing that and what you've made available to you guys. The
Yeah.
last question I want to ask you, this has been so good. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
You're
What
welcome.
has become possible for you once you were ready to ditch the perfectionism, kind of shed the shoulds? What's become possible for you on the other side?
And so much. Mainly it goes back to, gosh, that you're making me think of my word. Like, there it is. I guess it's like I already have a lot of that, but I'm like wanting more of that. The freedom,
Freedom.
so much freedom. Um,
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
uh,
Mhm.
peace, um,
Mm,
more love, more. Part of one of my favorite, biggest lessons through it all was learning how to receive.
mhm,
I was such a person that someone gave me something, like I felt like I had to give back. And if I couldn't give them something back, I felt so guilty and so bad about it.
mhm,
I don't have that anymore because I was forced in a position that there was so much giving. I didn't have it in me to give. And if I continued to carry around that guilt and crap, like I was worse. And my goal at the time was to feel better and get better. And then once I started learning about the power of receiving, all of that went away.
mm. Oh my gosh. Girl, we need to do a whole nother episode on learning how to receive as women because that's a journey in and of itself, but it's so important. It's so important.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, my love, where can the moms find you? Can they connect with you? What is a good place? Tell them all the things.
Yeah. Okay. So, podcast is Manifest More with Dawn Maynor. Instagram, same thing, and my website. I post on Instagram every day. If not, like I'm on there live. Tomorrow I'm doing manifesting with the new moon because that's another time to do new things is when there's a new moon. And so I'm
Hell
doing a free
yeah.
meditation live on Instagram. I randomly do pop up stuff like that because if I get an inspired idea, I just like plug it in. Like yesterday at class, the teacher was like, or one of my students, she goes, I can't do that time. Are you going to do that again anytime soon? And I was like, I'm sure I will, but like this was just random idea 2 days ago that.
Yes, but that's the feminine, that's the divine feminine way of just like acting when we're inspired instead of planning and strategizing and forcing it all. It's like, no, dude, I don't always have the energy to show up and share. But when I do, I run with that and I ride that wave. And that's what I think we need to continue to teach women. I so hope that you and I can collaborate on a retreat for women because
Yes.
I would love to bring your dream boarding. I would love to bring your yoga. I would love to bring your manifesting. I would love to bring your energy to the women in my mastermind. So let's freaking make that happen, girlfriend. I would love to partner with you and have you there.
Yes, we're going to do that for sure.
Awesome. All right, my friends. And I love that you brought it all back to freedom because we started this conversation with welcome to the Unperfected Pod, where we normalize normal and find freedom. That's what's available to us. That's what's available to us. So thank you for living that out loud and embodying that and being such a light in that kind of potential of what's available to all of us. Thank you, Dawn, for being here. And for all of you listening, I hope that you had or experienced a nugget or two in this conversation that you can put into your back pocket and weave it into your world. And we're sending you all so much love today and always. Bye for now. Hey, Mama, if you made it to the end of this episode, I just want to virtually high five you because you've said yes to the opportunity of taking better care of yourself. And that is so meaningful and so amazing. You have no idea the ripple of goodness that's to come. If you've been enjoying the show, if you've been finding it helpful, if you've laughed a little or learned a new technique, will you do me a favor? Will you make sure that you're following the show, that you've given us a 5-star rating and left a review? That will absolutely help us get this podcast into more heads and hearts of as many mamas as possible. Because when we heal the mother, we heal the world. Also, if there's a specific episode that you've loved, will you make sure to share it with a friend? Just send them the link or share it on social media and make sure you tag me at Brooke Jean Unperfected because I absolutely love seeing that this is actually giving you the impact that you so desire and deserve. Thank you so much, mamas. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves and therefore each other.